ASMR stream. I'm Cucumber from Perception Studio. This is our first time in this particular category. Hello, Fallon36. I missed a sub earlier. Who was that?
Supernaturally88.
Thank you, Supernaturally88, for your sub. So here's how tonight is going to work. I'm going to start by reading The Isle of Dr. Moreau. But you can change what I read if you find something in the public domain that you like. You may tip $15 to change what I'm reading. Then, for every, we'll say, $5, you can change what's going on with my mouth. So, for instance, I have some gum and snacks over this way, and I can start crunching those. Like that. That's just a taste. Ryan's cringing, but this is what it's for. Some people like this. You all wanted this, by the way. It's happening. You're welcome. Whoa, are you changing the channels, Ryan? Oh yeah, make sure your headphones are on, otherwise this is just a bunch of bullshit. A bunch of bullshit. A bunch of bullshit. Hopefully all of our alerts are off, otherwise prepare for deafening noise if anything happens. But that's okay. If you look below, what the fuck is that? What the fuck is that?
That's a
toilet.
a toilet upstairs.
That's a toilet. Toilet ASMR. Brought to you by Cucumber and Perception Studio. So just so some of you know, tomorrow there will be no perception check because we will be going down to Comic-Con. Comic-Con. To Lexian, it's not supposed to be creepy. It's supposed to be soothing. Like that. Nom, 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 nom. Nom, 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 nom. This is really hell for Ryan. This is great. No, he's okay with it. He's okay with it. Okay, good.
Amber, yes.
Oh yeah, Amber fucking hates this. Oh my god, we need to send this to Amber. This will be the best. She might actually set me on fire. Hopefully we get some new faces in here from the ASMR channels, but I have no idea where we're sitting right now.
I found out how to turn the alerts off.
Wonderful. Aeronook says spiteful ASMR, love it. Yes, that's what we're doing here. Oh, thank you. Ryan found that background about a minute before we went live. I think it's perfect. I think Amber would hate it more than Willow. Willow is slightly more forgiving. Cat Door Stir Fry wants to know how much to make you jump in with some ASMR.
I mean, it's technically free. I don't mind.
Don't fucking tell them that. Tell them $300. No, it's too late now. We'll treat it like a DM power or something. If you want to drop like 50, Ryan can take over for a little bit. Oh yes, crinkle bag. Give me a bag. I'm gonna crinkle a bag, guys. Are you ready? I gotta. Hold on. Oh my god, Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, here we go. I got a little bag of Cheetos here. I'm just gonna crinkle that for you. Are you ready? Hi there, Ranger Girl Stacy. We're doing a little ASMR. I'm gonna crinkle this bag. Can you hear it? Isn't that nice? Sorry, that's a little loud. I got a little aggressive there. Hold on. Crinkle, crinkle. What the fuck? Oh, that's Ryan's head. That's okay. Crinkle, crinkle. Crinkle, crinkle. Oh, that was fucking hard. What the hell? Jesus Christ. Crinkle, crinkle. Crinkle, crinkle. Crinkle, crinkle. Oh, I could be punching a balloon, but I don't think we have any balloons right now. Well, Aaron Nook, oh God, that's true. You know what? I stand by my statement. If it's in the public domain, I will read it. But only if it's in the public domain, because I don't want to get into any sort of trouble. Ryan's making a lot of noise. That's not me. I'm doing my best to be quiet. Jesus fucking Christ, Joe.
I'm sorry.
Oh, look, Joe's getting in on it too.
I'm really bad at ASMR.
Yeah, you are. Shut the fuck up. Okay, here we go. Alright. I'm gonna start reading The Island of Dr. Moreau by H.G. Wells. Are you ready? I'm ready. Bonesaw is ready. Bonesaw McGraw. Bonesaw McGraw. You guys, I'm loving this way the fuck more than I thought I would. We're still rated immature, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. The boulder is ready, says Aranuk. Good. Alright, so again, for $15, we'll change what I'm reading. Currently, it will be The Island of Dr. Moreau, A Possibility by H.G. Wells. Here we go. Rusty Roboticon, I'm fucking whispering, man. It's gonna be hard to do voices like this, but I'll do my best, okay? Introduction. Oh, thank you for the donation. For $5, Fallon36. It's now time. I will... Here, Ryan, can you open this bag for me? Thank you. It's a snack tip, so I will eat Cheetos while I read. Hold on. Okay, thank you. Oh, thank you, Spawn Blaze, for the follow. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. This is my first ASMR stream. My name is Cucumber. I'm here on behalf of Perception Studio. That's our logo down there spinning around and stuff. The Bunny, thank you for the follow. Are you ready for me to eat some Cheetos? I'm ready to eat some Cheetos. Alright, I'm gonna get a Cheeto. Introduction. On February the 1st, 1887, the Lady Vane was lost by collision with a derelict when about the latitude 1 degree south and longitude 107 degrees west. On January the 5th, 1888, that is 11 months and 4 days after, my uncle, Edward Prendick, a private gentleman who certainly went aboard the Lady Vane at Callao and who had been considered drowned, was picked up in latitude 5 degrees 3. What the fuck is 3 apostrophe S? 5 degrees and 3 feet south. I don't think that's right. But whatever. And longitude 101 degrees west. In a small open boat, of which the name was illegible. Gulp. Hold on, I'm gonna take a little sip. Hello, username. Shows this video to absolutely anyone with no context, then film the reaction. I'm okay with that. Yes, do it. Tape your friends watching me eat Cheetos and read The Island of Dr. Moreau by H.G. Wells.
This is the video we should submit to Twitch.
Sweet Jesus, no it isn't. Anyway. Where was I?
Apostrophe.
Oh no, I passed that. Oh, in a small open boat, of which the name was illegible, but which is supposed to have belonged to the missing schooner Ipekawamba. He gave such a strange account of himself that he was supposed demented. Subsequently, he alleged that his mind was a blank from the moment of his escape from the Lady Vane. His case was discussed among psychologists at the time as a curious instance of the lapse of memory, consequent upon physical and mental stress. The following narrative was found among his papers by the undersigned, his nephew and heir, but unaccompanied by any definite request for publication. The only island known to exist in the region in which my uncle was picked up is Noble's Isle, a small volcanic islet and uninhabited. It was visited in 1891 by the HMS Scorpion. A party of sailors then landed, but found nothing living thereon except certain curious white moths, some hogs and rabbits, and some rather peculiar rats, so that this narrative is without confirmation in its most essential particular. With that understood, there seems no harm in putting this strange story before the public in accordance, as I believe, with my uncle's intentions. There is at least this much on its behalf. My uncle passed out of human knowledge about latitude 5 degrees south and longitude 105 degrees east, and reappeared in the same part of the ocean after a space of 11 months. In some way, he must have lived during the interval, and it seems that a schooner called the Ipaquanba, with a drunken Captain John Davies, did start from Africa with a puma and certain other animals aboard in January 1887, that the vessel was well known at several ports in the South Pacific, and that it finally disappeared from those seas with a considerable amount of copra aboard, sailing to its unknown fate from Banya in December 1887, a date that tallies entirely with my uncle's story. Signed, Charles Edward Prendick. Prendick. All right, that was the introduction. I'll take a second to look at the chat. Kenny says, I thought this would make me sleepy. Instead, it's having the opposite effect. Am I waking you up, Kenny? Nom, 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 nom. Nom, nom, nom. Hi there, Fireblaze. 2005-213. Welcome. I see your lulz. Lulz. Telexian, you can. I'm sure there's a dictionary in the public domain. I could read the dictionary. Why the fuck not? For $15, I'll read anything in the public domain. Oh, Hardliner. Tip amounts, $5 for snacks. So I have gum, I have Cheetos, which I have been munching because that was tipped for, and I have a beverage that I can sip obnoxiously. At every $15, you can change the story, tell me something in the public domain, and I will start reading it. And I will continue to do so. Oh, there's also gummy bears and raisins that I can eat for you as well. Guys, what the fuck are we doing here? Guys, is this really a thing? Is this what people do? I'm not against it. I'm not knocking it. But I feel weird. Here we go. All right, let's start. The Island of Dr. Moreau. The story written by Edward Prendick. Chapter 1. In the dinghy of the Lady Vane. Yeah, you fucking heard that right. In the dinghy of the Lady Vane. I do not propose to add anything to what has already been written concerning the loss of the Lady Vane. As everyone knows, she collided with a derelict when 10 days out from Callao. The longboat, with 7 of the crew, was picked up 18 days after by the HM gunboat Myrtle, and the story of their terrible privations has become quite as well known as the far more horrible Medusa case. But I have to add to the published story of the Lady Vane another, possibly as horrible and far stranger. It has hitherto been supposed that the 4 men who were in the dinghy perished, but this is incorrect. I have the best of evidence for this assertion. I was one of the 4 men. But in the first place, I must state that there were never 4 men in the dinghy. The number was 3. Constance, who was seen by the captain, Constance, who was, quote, seen by the captain to jump into the gig. Luckily for us, and unluckily for himself, did not reach us. He came down out of the tangle of ropes under the stays of the smashed bowsprit. Some small rope caught his heel as he let go, and he hung for a moment, head downward, and then fell and struck a block or spar floating in the water. We pulled toward him, but he never came up. I say, luckily for us, he did not reach us, and I might also say luckily for himself, for we had only a small breaker of water and some sodden ship's biscuits with us. So sudden had been the alarm, so unprepared the ship for any disaster. We thought the people on the launch would be better provisioned, though it seems they were not, and we tried to hail them. They could not have heard us, and the next morning when the drizzle cleared, which was not until past midday, we could see nothing of them. We could not stand up to look about us because of the pitching of the boat. The 2 other men who had escaped so far with me were a man named Helmar, a passenger like myself, and a seaman whose name I do not know, a short, sturdy man with a stammer. Taking a break. What's that? Do we get a tip? $10 for a gummy bear and some Cheetos. At the same time, just for you. All right, gummy bears. Well, that was disgusting. It was a gummy bear and some Cheetos. Hello, the Moo Beast. Welcome. Num num. Well, grody. Okie dokie. Continuing the story. We drifted famishing, and after our water had come to an end, tormented by an intolerable thirst for 8 days altogether. After the 2nd day, the sea subsided slowly to a glassy calm. It is quite impossible for the ordinary reader to imagine those 8 days. He has not, luckily for himself, anything in his memory to imagine with. After the first day, we said little to one another, and lay in our places in the boat, and stared at the horizon, or watched with eyes that grew larger and more haggard every day, the misery and weakness gaining upon our companions. The sun became pitiless. The water ended on the 4th day, and we were already thinking strange things and saying them with our eyes. But it was, I think, the 6th before Helmar gave voice to the thing. We had all been thinking. I remember our voices were dry and thin. They must have been doing some fucking ASMR. So that we bent towards one another and spared our words. I stood out against it with all my might, was rather for scuttling the boat and perishing together among the sharks that followed us. But when Helmar said that if his proposal was accepted, we should have drink, the sailor came round to him. We're in top 10. Jesus Christ. What a racket. I would not draw lots, however. Oh, we're number 1 featuring a male host. Hey, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. Start that paragraph over. I would not draw lots, however, and in the night the sailor whispered to Helmar again and again, and I sat in the bows with my clasp knife in my hand, though I doubt if I had the stuff in me to fight. And in the morning I agreed to Helmar's proposal, and we handed halfpence to find the odd man. The lot fell upon the sailor, but he was the strongest of us, and would not abide by it, and attacked Helmar with his hands. They grappled together, and almost stood up. I crawled along the boat to them. The Art Vega, you've seen my swingin' jam. You know what's up. Please tell me that Amber has headphones in right now. The Art Vega. Thank you, Jet. Thank you, Jet. I appreciate it. Don't make me block you, Art. You know I'll do it. They grappled together and almost stood up. On hour number 6, holy shit. Oh my god, that's amazing. Why the fuck didn't we do this sooner? Shut up, phone. Shut up. I gotta do not disturb that shit. Hold on. Airplane mode. There we go. Okay, here we go. I crawled along the boat to them, intending to help Helmar by grasping the sailor's leg. But the sailor stumbled with the swaying of the boat, and the two fell upon the gunwale and rolled overboard together. They sank like stones. I remember laughing at that and wondering why I laughed. The laugh caught me suddenly, like a thing from without. Hi, dumb guy. He says, I just got here. Am I high as fuck? Well, listen, buddy, only you're gonna know that. Thank you for the host, Jedi Mind Tricks. I appreciate it. Currently, I am reading The Isle of Dr. Moreau. For $15, I will read anything else in the public domain at your suggestion. Continuing the story. I lay across one of the thwarts, for I know not how long, thinking that if I had the strength, I would drink seawater and madden myself to die quickly. And even as I what? Sherlock Holmes. All right. See you later, Isle of Dr. Moreau. It's just getting good. A couple guys just died. What's a good one that's in the public? I guess all of them are, huh? Let's see. This is gonna take me a second.
How about the Hound of the Baskervilles?
The Hound of the Baskervilles. Okay, there we go. We'll find that real quick. Read now. Found it. Thank you, Valen, for the donation. We shall now read The Hound of the Baskervilles. Alright, hold on. Here we go. The Hound of the Baskervilles. Another Adventure of Sherlock Holmes by Arthur Conan Doyle. Before he was Sir in this particular copy, so Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Hi there, dreaming of fairy tales. Where are you? Listen, Sesame Street never gave me a shot, man. They're not fans of me, but welcome, dreaming of fairy tales. I'm doing the mouth smacks because I think that's what people like. But welcome. Yes, we do prefer the term felted friends, but that's okay. Moving on. This is a dedication from Arthur Conan Doyle. Gross. Yes, Lurker. This is terrible. I'm bringing out the worst in you. I like that me reading a fucking book, is what's bringing out the worst in people. What the fuck is happening? Alright, back to the dedication. My dear Robinson, it was your account of a West Country legend which first suggested the idea of this little tale to my mind. For this, and for all the help which you gave me in its evolution, all thanks. Yours most truly, A. Conan Doyle. Not just any Conan Doyle. Alright. Chapter 1. Mr. Sherlock Holmes. Mr. Sherlock Holmes, who was usually very late in the mornings, save up on those not infrequent occasions when he was up all night, seated at the breakfast table. I stood upon the hearthrug and picked up the stick which our visitor had left behind him the night before. It was a fine, thick piece of wood, bulbous-headed, of the sort which is known as a Penang lawyer. Just under the head was a broad silver band, nearly an inch across. Quote, to James Mortimer, M.R.C.S., from his friends of the C.C.H., was engraved upon it, with the date 1884. Quick pause. Both of these stories take place within the same 4 to 5 year window, which I think is pretty interesting. But I digress. Let's see. It was just such a stick as the old-fashioned family practitioner used to carry, dignified, solid, and reassuring. Well, Watson, what do you make of it? Holmes was sitting with his back to me, and I had given him no sign of my occupation. How did you know what I was doing? I believe you have eyes in the back of your head. I have at least a well-polished silver-plated coffee pot in front of me, said he. But tell me, Watson, what do you make of our visitor's stick, since we have been so unfortunate as to miss him and have no notion of his errand? This accidental souvenir becomes of importance. Let me hear you reconstruct the man by an examination of it. I think, said I, following as far as I could to the methods of my companion, that Dr. Mortimer is a successful elderly medical man, well esteemed, since those who know him give him his mark of their appreciation. Thank you for the follow, Bonsai Tortoise. Thank you, Disney, for the sexiest book. Much appreciated. Continuing. Good, said Holmes. Excellent. I think also that the probability is in favor of his being a country practitioner who does a great deal of his visiting on foot. Why so? Because this stick, though originally a very handsome one, has been so knocked about that I can hardly imagine a town practitioner carrying it. The thick iron ferrule is worn down, so it is evident that he has done great amount of walking with it. Perfectly sound, said Holmes. And then again there is the Friends of the C.C.H. I should guess that to be the something hunt, the local hunt, whose members he had possibly given some surgical assistance, and which had made him small presentation in return. Really, Watson, you excel yourself, said Holmes, pushing back his chair and lighting a cigarette. I am bound to say that in all the accounts which you have been so good as to give of my own small achievements, you have habitually underrated your own abilities. It may be that you are not yourself luminous, but you are a conductor of light. Some people without possessing genius have a remarkable power of stimulating it. I confess, my dear fellow, that I am very much in your debt. He had never said as much before, and I must admit that his words gave me keen pleasure, for I had often been piqued by his indifference reference to my admiration and to the attempts which I had made to give publicity to his methods. I was proud, too, to think that I had so far mastered his system as to apply it in a way which earned his approval. He now took the stick from my hands and examined it for a few minutes with his naked eyes. "Thank you for the sub, Sir Grunt." "Much appreciated. And just a reminder, if you don't have headphones on, you're doing it wrong." Oh, I need a sip. Just a moment. Yeah, there we go. Are you guys feeling cozy? How are you guys feeling? This is my first ASMR stream. I want to know how I'm doing. Can I get an amen? Or a hell yeah? Alright, anyway. Oh God, Art Vega, why are you doing this to me? Oh, it's mostly a picture book, isn't it? Well, I guess I could describe what's happening on it. Alright, here we go. Where was I? I'll start here. Then, with an expression of interest, he laid down his cigarette and, carrying the cane to the window, he looked over it again with a convex lens. "Interesting, though elementary," said he, as he returned to his favorite corner of the city. "There are certainly one or two indications upon the stick. It gives us the basis for several deductions." "Has anything escaped me?" I asked, with some self-importance. "I trust that there is nothing of consequence which I have overlooked." "I am afraid, my dear Watson, that most of your conclusions were erroneous. When I said that you stimulated me, I meant, to be frank, that in noting your fallacies I was occasionally guided towards the truth. Not that you are entirely wrong in this instance. The man is certainly a country practitioner, and he walks a good deal." "Then I was right, to that extent. But that was all." No, my dear Watson, not at all. By no means at all. I would suggest, for example, that the presentation to a doctor is more likely to come from a hospital than from a hunt, and that when the initials C.C. are placed before that hospital, the words Charing Cross very naturally suggest themselves. You may be right. The probability lies in that direction. And if we take this as a working hypothesis, we have a fresh basis from which to start our construction of this unknown visitor. Well then, what, Goldie? Goldie? Hello, Goldie. Hi, Goldie. I'm doing my first ASMR stream. Thanks for joining us. Are we going to see you at Comic-Con? Goldie, it's creeping you out. It's creeping me the fuck out, and I'm the one doing it. I promised them I would do it at some point, so I figured, why not now? Why wait? For $5, I'll eat a snack or sip my beverage. For $15, I will read anything in the public domain. Yes, we'll get all the hugs, Goldie. Yay! I can't celebrate too loudly, but, yay, thanks for popping in. Back to Sherlock Holmes, the Hound of the Baskervilles. Well then, supposing that CCH does stand for Charing Cross Hospital, what further inferences may we draw? Do none suggest themselves? You know my methods. Apply them. I can only think of the obvious conclusion that the man has practiced in town before going to the country. I think that we might venture a little farther than this. Look at it in this light. On what occasion would it be most probable that such a presentation would be made? When would his friends unite to give him a pledge of their goodwill? Obviously at the moment when Dr. Mortimer withdrew from the service of the hospital in order to start in practice for himself. We know there has been a presentation. We believe there has been a change from a town hospital to a country has been a presentation. We believe there has been a change from a town hospital to a country practice. Is it then stretching our inference too far to say that the presentation was on the occasion of the change? It certainly seems probable. Now, will you observe that he could not have been on the staff of the hospital, since only a man well established in a London practice could hold such a position, and such a one would not drift into the country. What was he then? If he was in the hospital and yet not on the staff, he could certainly only have been a house surgeon or a house physician. Thank you for the cheers, Goldie. Thank you, Miss Starkey. Thanks for popping in. Hello, the band nerd. Thank you for joining us. Okay. Now you will observe that he could not... Oh, where did I leave? Oh, there. What was he then? If he was in the hospital... Oh, crap. Okie dokie. Changing the story. Thank you, Arsenal-Roy2K. We are now moving on from Sherlock Holmes to the Duelists.
Duelist.
That's not what that says.
Duelists. Sure.
It says Duelists by Bram Stoker. Uh-oh. Where can I find it? Full book. I'm gonna keep smacking around until I find it. Hello, Captain Pug. Is that Captain with an extra E, or is it Captain? Captain Pug. Hi, Captain Pug. Pug. Smack. Thank you for the link. Thank you for the stinky cheese, Goldie Cylon. There we are. I have it. Hello, Basius. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Alright, I'm ready. Moving on to the Duelists by Bram Stoker. So it is the Duelists. A whispering lisp. I could have a lisp. Goldie, you don't like mouth noise? Here, wait. Everyone buckle up for this son of a bitch. Sorry, that was really loud. There you go. That was just for you, Goldie. I miss you. Okay, moving on. Oh, that was delightful. Okay. The Duelists. Bis dat qui non si dat. There was a joy in the house of Bub. For 10 long years had Ephraim and Sonsonisba Bub mourned in vain the loneliness of their life. Thank you for the cheers. DKS Lurker, you pay to switch what I'm reading. I'll have to stop eventually. Whispers are actually more damaging to my little throat than yelling. But, it's all for you, babies. It's all for you, bubbas. One more for Goldie. Alright, well, I'm glad it's relaxing, General Davis. Okay, I'll stop, Goldie. That's the last one. That's the last one. Oh, I feel bad now. Sort of. Alright. Unavailingly had they gazed into the emporia of baby linen and fixed their searching glances on the basket makers' warehouses, where the cradles hung in tempting rows. In vain they had prayed and sighed and groaned and wished and waited and wept, but never had even a ray of hope been held out by the family physician. But now at last the wished-for moment had arrived. Month after month. What's that? Snack Cheetos with raisins. God damn it, Heartlander. Alright, hold on. Can you open that bag for me, please? He's gonna open the raisins. Parker, I decided we could add in education with just stupid mouth noises and whispering. Why not read good books? Amber says she's literally going to vomit. Oh no. Alright, back to the story. Where are we? Oh, I'm gonna stop that tapping. Here we go. Howdy, Kimat. Oh my god. Kime Yati. Yo, come on, man. Kime Yati Anki. Kime Yanti Anki. Thank you. I'm glad you're happy. Welcome. I'm gonna call you Kim for the sake of everyone involved. Out of respect. Honestly, the raisins and Cheetos was better than the gummy bears and Cheetos. Why do you hate my stupid voice, Ambular-tastic? This is just to torture Amber. Love you, Amber. Okay. Nice to see you here, Kim. I hope you don't mind me calling you Kim, but holy crap, you've got a lot of syllables in that name. Moving on. I will absolutely not yell, Fallon. I thought about it, but I'm not that mean. Goodbye, Amber. I'm sorry, but honestly, I'm impressed you even stopped by. I'm proud of you. Alright, moving on. Month after month had flown by on leaden wings, and the destined days had slowly measured their course. The months had become weeks. The weeks had dwindled down to days. The days had been attenuated to hours. That's not a word. Attenuated to hours. The hours had lapsed into minutes. The minutes had slowly died away. But the seconds remained. Ephraim Bubb sat cowering on the stairs and tried with high-strung ears to catch the strain of blissful music from the lips of his firstborn. There was silence in the house, silence as of the deadly calm before the cyclone. Ah, Ephraim Bubb, little thinkest thou that another moment may forever destroy the peace, happy course of thy life. Thank you for the follow, J5 Gume. Thank you. J5 Gume. J5 Gume. I can't say it. That's okay, Kim. You may call me Cucumber. That's my name. But yeah, we prefer Velvet Friends. But yeah, my name is Cucumber. So you can just call me that. Where was I? Oh, sorry, just reading. Hold on. And open to thy two craving eyes the portals of that wondrous land where childhood reigns supreme, and where the tyrant infant with the wave of his tiny hand and the imperious treble of his tiny voice sentences his parent, oh, the deadly vault beneath the castle moat. As the thought strikes thee, thou becomest pale. How thou tremblest as thou findest thyself upon the brink of the abyss. Wouldst that thou could recall the past. But hark, the die is cast for good or ill. The long years of praying and hoping have found an end at last. From the chamber within comes a sharp cry, which shortly after is repeated. Ah! Ephraim, that cry is the feeble effort of childish lips, as yet unused to the roughed, worldly form of speech to frame the word Father. In the glow of thy transport, all doubts are forgotten, and when the doctor cometh forth as the harbinger of joy, he findeth thee radiant with new-found delight. My dear sir, allow me to congratulate you, to offer twofold felicitations. Mr. Bubb, sir, you are the father of twins. End of that chapter. sack of shit, Art Vega. Alright. Thank you for the sub, Barking Darrow. And alright, hold on, let me find it. Actually, if someone is able to link that, could you link that to me? I'll keep reading this until someone links me. It takes me too long to look it up. Shitty fingers and all. I'll keep reading this one in the meantime. Halcyon Days. The twins were the finest children that ever were seen. Thank you, got it. Okay, on to the offensive piece of shit. Here we are. Okay. Wait, what? This is the puppet crown. What the fuck is that? I don't think that was right. Hold on. You linked me to the puppet crown, Art Vega. This is not Pinocchio. You are incorrect. Would you like to try again? Angagoblian. Thank you for the follow. Hi, welcome. There we go, let's try this one again. Goldie, I'm bringing this outfit and my token sweater that I got from Camp Crochet's. I don't have any costumes though, cause I'm broke. These fuckers don't pay me. Okay. Oh, well, I hope you feel very welcome. We cuss a lot, but we're very friendly people here. Yeah, broke as fuck is right, Goldie. Got no idea. Alright. Pinocchio, The Tale of a Puppet by C. Collodi. Here we go, get there. Hold on. Oh my god, this is a long ass book. Alright. Chapter 1. The piece of wood that laughed and cried like a child. Fuck that, that's terrifying. There was, once upon a time, a piece of wood in the shop of an old carpenter named Master Antonio. Everybody, however, called him Master Cherry, on account of the end of his nose, which was always as red and polished as a ripe cherry. No sooner had Master Cherry set eyes on the piece of wood than his face beamed with delight, and, rubbing his hands together with satisfaction, he said softly to himself, Valen says, is this the one where Drew Carey plays Geppetto? No, that one's weird, man. No, Jose, it's our word. We can use it. But Art should not have. If you catch my meaning. Sweet. What type of noodles? Kim, I can't eat bread things, so I would say, soba is buckwheat, so that one's mine. Or rice vermicelli, or the big fat rice noodles. Those are my favorite. Alright. This wood has come at the right moment. It will just do to make the leg of a little table. He immediately took a sharp axe with which to remove the bark and the rough surface, but just as he was going to give the first stroke, he heard a very small voice say imploringly, "Do not strike me so hard." He turned his terrified eyes all around the room to try and discover where the little voice could possibly have come from, but he saw nobody. He looked under the bench. Nobody. He looked into a cupboard that was always shut. Nobody. He looked into a basket of shavings and sawdust. Nobody. Nobody. He even opened the door of the shop and gave a glance into the street, and still nobody. Who then could it be? Alright, see you later, Goldie. We'll see you at San Diego Comic-Con. Also, we'll be at Comic-Con if any of you are going to Comic-Con. Find us. I see how it is, he said, laughing and scratching his wig. Evidently that little voice was all my imagination. Let us set to work again. and, taking up the axe, he struck a tremendous blow on the piece of wood. "Oh, oh, you have hurt me!" cried the same little voice dolefully. This time Master Cherry was petrified. His eyes started out of his head with fright, his mouth remained open, and his tongue hung out almost to the end of his chin, like a mask on a fountain. As soon as he had recovered the use of his speech, he began to say, stuttering and trembling with fear. "But what on earth can that little voice have come from that said, 'Oh, oh'? Is it possible that this piece of wood can have learned to cry and to lament like a child? I cannot believe it. This piece of wood is nothing but a log for fuel like all the others. If thrown on the fire, it would about suffice to boil a saucepan of beans. How, then, can anyone be hidden inside it? If anyone is hidden inside, so much the worse for him. I will settle him at once." A pause for a sip. All right, here we go. All right. So saying, he seized the poor piece of wood and commenced beating it without mercy against the walls of the room. Holy fuck, this book is dark, I forgot. Then he stopped to listen if he could hear any little voice lamenting. He waited 2 minutes, nothing. 5 minutes, nothing. 10 minutes, still nothing. "I see how it is," he said then, forcing himself to laugh and pushing up his wig. Evidently, the little voice that said, "Oh, oh," was all my imagination. Let us set to work again. Putting the axe aside, he took his plane to plane and polish the bit of wood, but whilst he was running it up and down, he heard the same little voice say, laughing, "Stop, you are tickling me all over." This time poor Master Cherry fell down as if he had been struck by lightning. When he had at last opened his eyes, he found himself seated on the floor. His face was changed. Even the end of his nose, instead of being crimson, as it was nearly always, had become blue from fright. Enjoy the noodles, Kim. Okie dokie. Chapter 2. Master Cherry gives the wood away. What a hooer. At that moment, someone knocked at the door. "Come in," said the carpenter, without having the strength to rise to his feet. A lively old man immediately walked into the shop. His name was Geppetto. But when the boys of the neighborhood wished to make him angry, they called him Pudding, because his yellow wig greatly resembled a pudding made of Indian corn. What the fuck? Someone find me a picture of this pudding. Geppetto was very fiery. Woe to him who called him Pudding. He became furious, and there was no holding him. "Good day, Master Antonio," said Geppetto. "What are you doing there on the floor?" "I am teaching the alphabet to the ants." "Much good may that do you." "What has brought you to me, neighbor Geppetto?" "My legs. But to tell the truth, wow, what an asshole. A smart ass. What has brought you to me, neighbor Geppetto? My legs. But to tell the truth, Master Antonio, I came to ask a favor of you." "Here I am, ready to serve you," replied the carpenter, getting on his knees. "This morning, an idea came into my head. Let us hear it. I thought I would make a beautiful wooden puppet, one that could dance, fence, and leap like an acrobat. With this puppet, I would travel about the world to earn a piece of bread and a glass of wine. What do you think of it?" "Bravo, Pudding!" exclaimed the same little voice. Oh wait, someone found the pudding. I'm gonna open the pudding. This is what Geppetto looks like, everybody. Holy God. Looks like a turd with whipped cream on it. Oh. Let's see if the other picture's any better. Okay, the second picture's way better. Let's look at the last one. There's one more. Okay, that's the same one. Gross. Or it's like a pumpkin pie custard, it sort of looks like. Alright, back to the story. You can hear me on both sides of the mic. Ooh, fun. Let's go. Left. Now I'm in your left ear. Let's go right. Now I'm in your right ear. Let's go left. Let's go right. Let's go left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. What's the matter? I think I heard Ryan. Oh, that was fun. Okay. Bravo, pudding, exclaimed the same little voice, and it was impossible to say where it came from. Hearing himself called pudding, Geppetto became as red as a turkey cock from rage. That's right, kids. Turkey cock. Hyphenated. I will read it again. Hearing himself called pudding, Geppetto became as red as a turkey cock from rage, and, turning to the carpenter, he said in a fury, "Why do you insult me? Who insults you? You called me pudding. It was not I. Do you think I called myself pudding? It was you, I say. No, yes, no. Wait, yes, let's do that. Okay. Do you think I called myself pudding? It was you, I say. No, yes, no, yes." And, becoming more and more angry, from words they came to blows, and flying at each other, they bit and fought and scratched. Let's see. When the fight was over, Master Antonio was in possession of Geppetto's yellow wig, and Geppetto discovered that the gray wig belonging to the carpenter remained between his teeth. "Give me back my wig," screamed Master Antonio. Yeah, next time we'll get a better mic, guys. This was sort of a flying by the seat of your pants sort of stream. We can't do Harry Potter or, yeah, we can't do that because it's not in the public domain. They would shut us down. Anywho. And you, return me mine, and let us be friends again. The two old men, having each recovered his own wig, shook hands and swore that they would remain friends to the end of their lives. What the fuck? They just bit each other. "Well then, neighbor Geppetto," said the carpenter, "to prove that peace was made, what is the favor that you wish of me?" "I want a little wood to make my puppet." "Will you give me some?" Master Antonio was delighted, and he immediately went to the bench and fetched the piece of wood that had caused him so much fear. But just as he was going to give it to his friend, the piece of wood gave a shake and, wriggling violently out of his hands, struck with all its force against the dried-up shins of poor Geppetto. "Ah, is that the courteous way in which you make your presents, Master Antonio? You have almost lamed me." "I swear to you that it was not I." "Then you would not have that it was I. The wood is entirely to blame. I know that it was the wood, but it was you that hit my legs with it. I did not hit you with it. Liar! Geppetto, don't insult me or I will call you pudding. Knave, pudding, donkey, pudding, baboon, pudding." On hearing himself called pudding for the third time, Geppetto, mad with rage, fell upon the carpenter, and they fought desperately. When the battle was over, Master Antonio had 2 more scratches on his nose, and his adversary had lost 2 buttons off his waistcoat. Their accounts being thus squared, they shook hands and swore to remain good friends for the rest of their lives. Geppetto carried off his fine piece of wood and, thanking Master Antonio, returned limping to his house. End of chapter 2. And of you too, J-Sparkle. Hi. Yeah, those old men are assholes. Alright, hold on, I'm gonna roll out my neck here for a second. because Disney fucks up stories for a living. Okie dokie. Chapter 3. And remember, for $15 you can change what I'm reading to anything in the public domain. Chapter 3. Geppetto names his puppet Pinocchio. Fucking spoilers. That's the title of the chapter. Geppetto lived in a small ground floor room that was only lighted from the staircase. The furniture could not have been simpler. A rickety chair, a poor bed, and a broken-down table. At the end of the room there was a fireplace with a lighted fire, but the fire was painted, and by the fire was a painted saucepan that was boiling cheerfully and sending out a cloud of smoke that looked exactly like real smoke. Thank you for the follow. Simply Omega Lulz. Oh, fuck yeah. Thanks, Hardliner. Hardliner has donated to change the story to The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. Fucking love that book. Alright, link is found. Thank you, Hardliner. I think I'm gonna have to end at like maybe 9:45 or 10, because my throat's not happy with me for all this. I think so, King Rooster. I think that's a thing. Thank you for the follow, Machamp20. Machamp. Thank you for the follow, Slurpee711. Much appreciated. For all of you new folks, this is my first ASMR stream. Normally we stream Dungeons and Dragons on Tuesday nights, but we had some call-outs or what have you, so we finally did what we were always talking about, which is me doing ASMR. It's really hard to not scream. Alright. The Time Machine, an Invention by H.G. Wells. Chapter 1. Introduction. The time traveler, for so it will be convenient to speak of him, was expounding a recondite matter to us. His pale grey eyes shone and twinkled, and his usually pale face was flushed and animated. The fire burned brightly, and the soft radiance of the incandescent lights in the lilies of silver caught the bubbles that flashed and passed in our glasses. Our chairs, being his patents, embraced and caressed us rather than submitted to be sat upon. And there was that luxurious after-dinner atmosphere when thought runs gracefully free of the trammels of precision. And he put it to us in this way, marking the points with the lean forefinger, as we sat and lazily admired his earnestness over this new paradox, as we thought it, and his fecundity. You must follow me carefully. I shall have to controvert one or two ideas that are almost universally accepted. The geometry, for instance, they taught you at school, is founded on a misconception. Oh my God, Cobra Striker and ASMR song. I guess we could do that. What are we at now? Well, shit. We haven't been keeping track, but we can do that. Howdy, weebs. Welcome. Or should I say, weebs? Oh no, I definitely won't scream. It's really hard not to, but I won't. Okay, moving on. I like your kitty, Slurpee. Okay. Is not that a rat? Pfft, let me start that sentence over. Old English, here we go. Is not that rather a large thing to expect us to begin upon? Said Philby, an argumentative person with red hair. I do not mean to ask you to accept anything without a reasonable ground for it. You will soon admit as much as I need from you. You know, of course, that a mathematical line, a line of thickness nil, has no real existence. They taught you that. Neither has a mathematical plane. These things are mere abstractions. That is all right, said the psychologist. Nor, having only length, breadth, and thickness, can a cube have a real existence. There I object, said Philby. Of course a solid body may exist, all real things. So most people think. But wait a moment. Can an instantaneous cube exist? Don't follow you, said Philby. Can a cube that does not last for an existence. Philby became pensive. Clearly, the time traveler proceeded. Any real body must have extension in 4 directions. It must have length, breadth, thickness, and duration. But through a natural infirmity of the flesh, which I will explain to you in a moment, we incline to overlook this fact. There are really 4 dimensions. 3 which we call the 3 planes of space, and a 4th, time. There is, however, a tendency to draw an unreal distinction between the former 3 dimensions and the latter, because it happens that our consciousness moves intermittently in one direction along the latter, from the beginning to the end of our lives. Breadth, Cobra Striker. Oh God, everybody calm down. Hello, Alexander. I don't know what Weebs is saying no to, but, okay. Let's see. Duba, I'm doing my best. I'm new. My throat hurts. Lots of mad respect for people who do this all the time. Holy hell. I'm in pain. Hello, Mad Hatter Gal. Welcome. Thanks, Valen. I'm doing my best. Oh, boy. Alright. Boom, 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 boom. Thank you, Alexander. I like my hair, too. Very purple. It's a little unkempt at the moment, but, you never know. I'm gonna fix it up a little bit. There we go. Is that better? Does it look better? Thank you, Simply Omega Lols. I don't know what hurts. I'm confused, Weebs. You take care of you. I believe in you, Weebs. Huh? Oh, my throat. Yeah. Oh, the throat. I got you, Weebs. I got you. Thank you. Yeah, I understand. Okay. Continuing. That, said a very young man, making spasmodic efforts to relight his cigar over the lamp. That, very clear indeed. Now, it is very remarkable that this is so extensively overlooked, continued the time traveler, with a slight accession of cheerfulness. Really, this is what is meant by the 4th dimension, though some people who talk about the 4th dimension do not know they mean it. It is only another way of looking at time. There is no difference between time and any of the 3 dimensions of space, except that our consciousness moves along it. But some foolish people have got hold of the wrong side of that idea. You have all heard what they have to say about this 4th dimension. I had not, said the provincial mayor. Slurpee, I'm not a frog, homie. My name's Cucumber. Welcome, though. Thanks for hanging out. Boo. Where was I? It is simply this. Hi there, Kibble Tibbles. Welcome to the stream. I am new to ASMR, so bear with me. I'm whispering through stories in the public domain. Right now we are on The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. Yes, I'm green, Slurpee. There's lots of green things in the world. Like, literally, thousands of things. Anyway. But it's fair. I'm not offended. Kermit's a good guy. I figure if you're gonna mistake me for somebody, that's a good guy to go for. Okay. It is simply this. That space, as our mathematicians have it, is spoken of as having 3 dimensions, which one may call length, breadth, and thickness, and is always definable by reference to 3 planes, each at right angles to the others. But some philosophical people have been asking why 3 dimensions particularly. Why not another dimension at right angles to the other 3? And have even tried to construct a 4-dimensional geometry. Professor Simon Newcomb was expounding this to the New York Mathematical Society only a month or so ago. You know how on a flat surface, which has only 2 dimensions, we can represent a figure of a 3-dimensional solid, and similarly, they think that by models of 3 dimensions, they could represent one of 4, if they could master the perspective of the thing. See? Let's see. Cumbers. I like that. Kibble Tibbles. That's a cute nickname. I'm not mad at that. Cumbers. Well, what the fuck, Art Vega? What did I do to you? Well, Art, use a dick, man. Use a dick. Does the mic spin around? I don't know, man. That's true, Valen. Much better than that. I think so, murmured the provincial mayor, and knitting his brows, he lapsed into an introspective state, his lips moving as one who repeats mystic words. Yes, I think I see it now, he said after some time, brightening in a quite transitory manner. Well, I do not mind telling you, I have been at work upon this geometry of 4 dimensions for some time. Some of my results are curious. For instance, here is a portrait of a man at 8 years old. Another at 15. Another at 17. Another at 23, and so on. All these are evidently sections, as it were. 3-dimensional representations of his 4-dimensioned being, which is a fixed and unalterable thing. Scientific people, proceeded the time traveler, after the pause required for the proper assimilation of this, know very well that time is only a kind of space. Here is a popular scientific diagram, a weather record. This line I trace with my finger shows the movement of the barometer. Yesterday it was so high. Yesterday night it fell. Then this morning it rose again, and so gently upward to here. Surely the mercury did not trace this line in any of the dimensions of space generally recognized, but certainly it traced such a line, and that line, therefore, we must conclude, was among the time dimension. Boom, boom. But, said the medical man, staring hard at a coal in the fire. Well, they're so impressed that I say words like fuck. You'll get over it. I cuss a lot, guys. I guess I'm new here. Matt Acevedo. You're here for my first ASMR stream, Matt. Everyone just go follow Shy Guy Express. Go hug Matt. Matt, you just had a birthday, Matt. Miss you, Matt. Love you, Matt. Right now we're reading The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. Happy birthday, Matt. Okay, back to the story. Hold on, I gotta crack my neck. Oh, sweet jeebus. Okay. Hopefully that was also ASMR-y. Who knows, man? Okay. Okay, where was I? Oh, thank you for the follow, Alexander. Oh, wait, okay. Are you ready? Are you ready, Ryan? We're gonna blow Matt's mind. We're gonna go side to side. Okay, first we're gonna go left. We're going left, Matt. Now we're gonna go right. We're going right, Matt. Left, right, left, right, left, right. ASMR, bitches. I'm learning. Oh, thanks for gifting that sub to Shy Guy. Cactuar Stir Fry. Yay. Okay, back to the story. Oh, look, Matt subscribe. Okay. Matt, you can't make me laugh. Kenny, that sounds like a fucking you problem, doesn't it? It's like, cucumber, your left is alright. I don't give a shit. My left is my left. Alright, you ready? Let's try it. Let's fix it for him, okay? We're gonna go right, left, right, left. Alright, I'm done with that. Back to the story. Okay. If time is really only a 4th dimension of space, why is it, and why has it always been, regarded as something different? And why cannot we move in time as we move about in other dimensions of space? The time traveler smiled. Are you so sure we can move freely in space? Right and left we can go, backward and forward, freely enough, and men always have done so. I admit we move freely in 2 dimensions, but how about up and down? Gravitation limits us there. Not exactly, said the medical man. There are balloons. But before the balloons, save for spasmodic jumping and the inequalities of the surface, man had no freedom of vertical movement. Still, they could move a little up and down, said the medical man. Easier, far easier down than up. And you cannot move at all in time. You cannot get away from the present moment. Thank you, Kibble Tibbles, for the follow. Shy Guy, no, they tip for what I'm reading. So we started with, what did we start with? Oh yeah, we started with the Isle of Dr. Moreau. We did some Sherlock Holmes. We did some Bram Stoker, the Duelists. We did some Pinocchio. We did, I just closed that one, so I lost that one. Uh-oh, there we go. Oh crap, guess what I closed? The book I was reading. Gotta scroll back up. Boop, 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 boop. Hey, Hardliner, can you link me again? Please. I appreciate it. Yeah, Pinocchio's super fucking dirty and weird, and has a lot of old man fights in it that I forgot about. I've read that book, and I don't remember that. Moreau, I don't know if he's around. Alright, let me find it. Okay. Oh, there it is. I found it. Here we go. I got it. Where am I? Aha. My dear sir, that is just where you are wrong. That is just where the whole world has gone wrong. We are always getting away from the present moment. Our mental existences, which are immaterial and have no dimensions, are passing along the time dimension with a uniform velocity from the cradle to the grave. Just as we should travel down if we began our existence 50 miles above the Earth's surface. But the great difficulty is this, interrupted the psychologist. You can move about in all directions of space, but you cannot move about in time. That is the germ of my great discovery, but you are wrong to say that we cannot move about in time. For instance, if I am recalling an incident very vividly, I go back to the instant of its occurrence. I become absent-minded, as you say. I jump back for a moment. Of course we have no means of staying back for any length of time, any more than a savage or animal has of staying 6 feet above the ground. But a civilized man is better off than the savage in this respect. He can go up against gravitation in a balloon, and why should he not hope that ultimately he may be able to stop or accelerate his drift along the time dimension, or even turn about and travel the other way? Hi there, Mikolo. Okay. Oh, Queen Nani. Queen Nani? Nani? Hi, kitty cat girl. Kitty cat girl, you have the best name. I'm gonna say it again. Kitty cat girl. Kitty cat girl, and I don't care. Kitty cat girl, and I don't care. Kitty cat girl, and I don't care. Oh, I almost got loud. I have to not get loud. Stay quiet. On this, began Philby, is all. Why not? Said the time traveler. You can show black is white by argument, said Philby, but you will never convince me. Possibly not, said the time traveler, but now you begin to see the object of my investigations into the geometry of 4 dimensions. Long ago, I had a vague inkling of a machine. To travel through time, exclaimed the very young man. That shall travel indifferently in any direction of space and time, as the driver determines. Pardon me, I burped. Let's see. Boop, boop, boop. We're at number 8 of live interactive ASMR content. Huzzah! Alright kids, I think I'm gonna finish this chapter and then call it done, because my throat is cooked. Whispering is bad for you. Legitimately bad for your cords, kids. Okie dokie. Philby contented himself with laughter. "But I have experimental verification," said the time traveler. "It would be remarkably convenient for the historian," the psychologist suggested. "One might travel back and verify the accepted account of the Battle of Hastings, for instance." "Don't you think you would attract attention?" said the medical man. "Our ancestors had no great tolerance for anachronisms. One might get one's Greek from the very lips of Homer and Plato," the very young man thought, "in which case they would certainly plow you up for the little go. The German scholars have improved Greek so much." "Then there is the future," said the very young man. "Just think, one might invest all one's money, leave it to accumulate at interest, and hurry on ahead." "To discover a society," said I, "erected on a strictly communistic basis." "Of all the wild, extravagant theories," began the psychologist. "Yes, so it seemed to me, and so I never talked of it until—" "Experimental verification," cried I. "You are going to verify that?" "The experiment," cried Philby, who was getting brain-weary. "Let's see your experiment, anyhow," said the psychologist, "though it's all humbug, you know." The time-traveler smiled round at us. Then, still smiling faintly, and with his hands deep in his trousers pockets, he walked slowly out of the room, and we heard his slippers shuffling down the long passage to his laboratory. The psychologist looked at us. "I wonder what he's got." "Some sleight-of-hand trick or another," said the medical man, and Philby tried to tell us about a conjurer he had seen in Burslem, but before he had finished his preface, the time-traveler came back, and Philby's anecdote collapsed. Oh boy. Megalo says Chunk is the Seth Rogen of Felted Friends. It's really hard to whisper Seth Rogen. I don't think Willow could ASMR. I think she'd self-destruct. Alright guys, I can't do any more talking, but I can do some more mouth noises for a little bit if you want some. It is fucking weird, man. But I'll do it for you. Let's get some little smacky smacks. Smacky smack. Weebs said I'm the first person he's watched. He literally just made this account. Oh my god. Well, I thank you, and I'm sorry. And yeah, come back on other nights, because we have lots of varied content. Normally we have very loud, interactive, ridiculous shows. This is the first quiet thing I think we've ever fucking done. I'll dress as a... Okay, Sylveon, here you go. You ready? Okay, now I feel creepy as fuck. I gotta stop that. Let's see. What's some other good noises I'm doing? That fan needs to be clean, says Hardliner. That's the computer fan. That's across the room. It's way the fuck over there. Deadly Nightshade says this is the Counter G from last week. Agreed. Agreed. Alright, let's see. Alrighty. Okie dokie, friends. Thanks for sticking around for this, but I gotta call it short. I think I'll do this again. I think I'll do... Kitty Cat Girl, what? You can't just ask somebody why they're green. That's so rude. Alright, let's see. Hi there, Fantalasco Alfiat. I'm just finishing up my very first ASMR stream. However, we are pretty popular in the Dungeons and Dragons category. We have 2 D&D shows, we have a movie talk show, we do studio days where we play board games with board game creators. But yeah, check us out. We're pretty nice, we're pretty fun. We're kind of filthy occasionally. But we're nice. We likes ya. We likes ya. Thanks for popping in. But we're about to wrap up because my throat hurts, honestly. So we're gonna find somebody to raid. So I would say turn down your headphones, because most likely wherever you're going is gonna be a lot fucking louder than this. Oh my god, we could totally do ASMR D&D.
Yes.
Oh my god. And then all the checks that we make could be ASMR based. Like, I smack my lips at him. I suck my lip. Yes, we're gonna raid somebody. Let's raid, let's see who's doing stuff. Boom, boom. You know what? We're here. We're in ASMR. Let's raid our friend Soma. It's been a long time. She's doing alright. Let's see. Soma. Green. Okay. We met her. Well, we've been in contact with her since we started streaming. She's really nice. She also does ASMR, so actually you can protect your ears, because that's what she's streaming right now as well. Hi, Sesses. Thank you for the follow. We'll probably do more of these at some point. But, yeah. Alright, so I'm loading up the raid, everybody. Here we go. Alright. Everyone be really nice to Soma. She's wonderful. Say hello to Froggy. Thanks, Kitty Cat Girl, for the follow. Thanks for jumping in. I appreciate all of you coming. But, oh yeah, good point, Cobra Striker. Lower your volume because of ads. I forgot about ads. So yeah, take care of that. Hey, Sylveon. Hey, Matt. Matt, thank you so much for hanging out. This is probably the weirdest thing you've ever seen us do. So, thanks, buddy. We'll see you at Comic-Con, man. I'm very excited. Okay. Alright, we're gonna send 32 people over to Soma Green. Are we ready? Alright. Cut away.